Hello and welcome to Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, for an exclusive interview with Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us here.
You're welcome.
Just a couple of days ago, you met with the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, under the aegis of Angola's President João Lourenço, who announced that some progress had been made to try to stop the tensions between Rwanda and the DRC. He announced a ceasefire, a roadmap. Is this a breakthrough meeting?
Yeah, I think to begin with, I don't think anyone is interested in tensions or conflicts or whatever crisis. So it's on that backdrop that I am happy that we even agreed to meet in Angola under the mediation of President Lourenço, President of Angola. And indeed, we had a good discussion. I think both sides, at least what I assessed it to be, were looking forward to making progress.
Right, because I mean, there have been a number of meetings under different formats, but every time it's a lot of talk, but then the acts do not follow. Do you think that this time could be different?
I hope so, and that's what I think. That's what I want to see happen. Well, talking is good enough. Is good, but may not be good enough, but it is what you need to start with. So the fact that we talk, I think, is good, and we can build on that for tangible results. And I think this one in Angola is another step forward, I believe. That's what I think.
The problem is, when you talk about tangible results, since that meeting just a couple of days ago, fighting has resumed in eastern DRC between the M23 rebel group and the DRC government is already accusing the M23 and Rwanda of not fulfilling what they promised.
Well, I don't think we need to dwell on blame game and accusations. You find one side accuses the other of something, then the other accuses the other of something. I don't think the accusations are just one way. They're general. But maybe one would expect that, because much as we discussed and agreed on many things, it seems there are circumstances on the ground where maybe people are not exactly in control of what happens. So the instructions and making sure that they are adhered to might be a problem. Maybe it takes time, maybe it takes a day, maybe it takes two, maybe it takes a week, and so on. So, but the most important thing is at the top. Once we have agreed and are committed, I think what remains is to ensure that these instructions are followed.
Right, because one of the points of it's a 6-point roadmap that was elaborated in Rwanda. One is the immediate cessation of hostilities by the M23 and their withdrawal to the positions they've taken in the past weeks or months. Well, visibly, they've already said that the meeting was an illusion and that they don't feel they're bound by this meeting. So it might be a problem of communication, or it might be a bigger problem because they don't agree with what was decided.
No, but let me just make a small correction, which I thought would have been obvious. In fighting, there are different parties involved. It's not one party. So talking about ceasefire refers to parties fighting. It's not M23. It's parties fighting. It's M23 and those they are fighting against, or those fighting against them. So that is the correction I thought I needed to make.
So the Congolese military, obviously.
That's what it means. So really, and when I was talking about maybe translating instructions on the ground, why it takes time is that all these parties on the ground fighting Maybe they receive instructions slowly or distorted instructions, or so that's why I was saying it takes a bit of time. But I think we need to press ahead and hard to make sure that instructions of having a ceasefire is actually adhered to. In other circumstances, what would happen is to have people on the ground who ensure that what is being talked about is actually implemented. But we don't have such a situation. So that understandable.
But at the top, you're saying when you saw Felix Tshisekedi, you agreed to find a way out of those tensions, right?
That's what we agreed.
Okay, because just a couple of days ago, he gave an interview to the Financial Times, and he was asked about a potential war between DRC and Rwanda, and he said, we cannot rule it out if Rwanda's provocative actions continue. So clearly, this is a veiled threat.
Well, I don't feel comfortable so loosely talking about war.
Did he tell you that when you saw him in Rwanda?
He didn't tell me. You said he told the Financial Times.
No, but maybe he repeated this to you.
He didn't. But I saw it in the Financial Times. But I'm just saying, for me, I don't so easily and carelessly anticipate war or even look forward to it. So let's put that aside. And the reason we're in Angola is to make sure that any misunderstanding, any conflict, any tension is resolved amicably, not through war fighting.
Right. But he has repeatedly denounced Rwanda's aggression against his country. The US Embassy in Kinshasa said a couple of days ago that it was extremely worried, I quote them, by the signaled presence of Rwandan troops in DRC. The US is a key ally to Rwanda. When they say that you are in DRC, what is your response?
Well, my response is that I'm always surprised that in the conflict, say in Congo, people are quick to accuse Rwanda.
Even the Americans?
Yes, I mean everybody. We are talking about those who make accusations. But
those are groundless accusations,
can
Mr.
you
President?
let me finish explaining my point? Because Rwanda is accused by the US or by anybody, but they are silent, deliberately, I guess, on issues of FDLR that have been there for the last 25 years. This is, so you would imagine, in fact, when you hear people say those things you just mentioned, it's as if Rwanda is just a troublemaker. They went into Congo, they started the war, they are doing this. They're even silent about the bombings of our territory by Congolese army. They are silent about infiltration in 2019, in November, of these FDLR who entered into the northern part of our country and caused mayhem. If we are talking about provocations, how do you decide to share across the border into the population? And then you say, this is...
I understand your point, but...
Do you understand it, really?
Or
do they understand it? Then you need to tell them.
This doesn't answer the question. Are there Rwandan troops in DRC? Maybe there are other issues. We'll get to that because that's one of the points of the roadmap.
No, it
but
is,
you deny having soldiers on DRC soil right now, as the Americans are claiming.
Well, it is answered by telling you that when you're having so many parties having a problem, and you just keep insisting on talking about one, you are the one with the problem, not the one you are accusing. So that answers what you are asking as well.
You talked about FDLR. You've been talking about them for many years. One of the points of this 6-point roadmap is to defeat the FDLR and the splinter groups. Obviously, given that it's been going on, you've been denouncing it for years. Do you think that on this point, there is real progress, or again, it's only talk?
I'm looking forward to that progress. This is my main point. But the other point, which again, we probably talked about a little bit, is I've said, yes, I've talked about it, or we have talked about it for so many years. But why don't people listen? Every time it is another problem, but not that one. So these parties decided that this problem should remain forever and expect that there will be no consequences for the actions of this group of FDLR carried out against Rwanda. Is that serious? You think these people are serious?
What about the repeated claims by the Congolese authorities that Rwanda is backing the M23? They're saying, Felix Tshisekedi in the same interview said that if Rwanda doesn't admit it, it means there is a hidden agenda.
Well, it's a long story. First of all, M23 is not Rwanda's problem. And these are not Rwandans. And we don't need them for anything. Second, the history of these M23 people is well known, has been discussed with President Tshisekedi himself and the government of Congo and so on. In fact, in 2013, during that crisis, when we had M23 in the fighting with the UN forces, flee to Uganda, then to Rwanda. These people, if you had wanted, they should have taken you there. You could have talked to some of them. We cantoned them. We disarmed them. We gave these arms back to Congo. And following that, Congo, the two, actually both the governments, the previous under President Kabila, then the new one under President Tshisekedi, committed to resolving this problem and repatriating these people. They sent delegations here, official delegations, several times, I think like 20 times. They would come and talk to these people. They would promise them they're going to resolve their problems. They would go back and nothing follows. So these people are still here. Now, the ones who are fighting now have been in Congo for time well before they started fighting. There had been accusations which were verified by the verification team which resides in Goma about where they were, first of all, and they were in Congo. And these are not people who came from Rwanda. And how Congo makes that problem of M23 a Rwandan problem is something I can't understand.
Well, because they're saying that you're backing them financially, militarily, that they have much more powerful weaponry. Even the UN says that.
That's what they are saying. That's what they are saying. But
is it lies? I mean, do you deny it? Absolutely.
But what I don't want us to dwell on and waste a lot of time is in this complex problem, which I have told you involves many parties, to single out just one and attach it to Rwanda and make it the issue. How about other issues? How about FDLR we're talking about? How about sharing our territory from DRC by government forces working together with FDLR? How about MONUSCO that has been supporting FDLR and FARDC, knowing that they are working together? Why are you not talking about that?
I'm asking you questions, accusations that have been leveled against you and Rwanda.
What else about that? That's the problem. So the whole thing is just about Rwanda, M23. This is what
in 2013, if I remember correctly, you got a call at the time from then President Barack Obama about the issue. Did you get calls from President Biden, Secretary Blinken, to try to calm the situation in recent days or months?
Happily not, because it doesn't warrant it at all. It doesn't, maybe they should call whoever they want, or if they called me, I would certainly receive the call and give them the answer they are looking for. And, but I'm saying, even just simple logic, if people try to reason, this problem was there 2013 or 2012. Now it is back 10 years after. What do you think went wrong? I would ask anyone to tell me why this problem, which is actually, in my view, a problem that can be addressed very easily. Why does it go on for 10 years and it comes back? In fact, some part of it has been there for the last 25 years. And the international community, everybody, they've spent so much money talking about solving these problems based in the Congo. And yet we have it visit us again in 2022. Do you really think Rwanda is the problem in that? Can't anybody see that the problems lie elsewhere?
In DRC.
Absolutely. And even in the international community who pretend they are trying to address the problem, but they even complicate it further.
I want to get to another issue that's been in the news. Rwanda signed a pact with the United Kingdom regarding migrants. The idea is to bring illegal migrants who try to get into the UK to Rwanda. A first plane was supposed to arrive here a few weeks ago. It didn't make it because European Court ruling. First of all, Boris Johnson just resigned. Does this mean that the deal with the UK is off the table?
Well, what do you call a deal? It means, again, there are different parties concerned with that deal. As far as Rwanda is concerned, our side, the responsibility on that is we agreed to receive people under certain conditions which we discussed and agreed. So for us, it is to receive. How to send people here is not our problem. We are not concerned with that. The laws, the logistics, it's not for us. How they get here. The only thing is, when they get here, how we handle them, how we manage them with our partners, UK. That's what you can ask me. Otherwise, I can't answer for what happens on the other side. Much as I'm aware of different facts and different circumstances that have made this issue sound like so complicated, so controversial, with so many things. But we have a very clear understanding of what we are dealing with.
So you're confident this will be implemented?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. The head of the United Nations refugee, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, recently told me in an interview that he believed that this agreement was a very bad precedent and that it was undermining the asylum system in the world. What is your response to this direct criticism?
My response to that is that so many aspects of this process have been discussed, even in other circumstances. I've told people, even before we came to this partnership in dealing with this problem with the UK, we had many years before dealt with other situations. For example, the prominent one being that of Libya, and in which we discussed that with the UNHCR. In fact, it is not UNHCR that initiated the discussion or came to us asking. We are the ones who offered, because of the circumstances, which again would take long to explain, but having people going through Libya intending to go to Europe, and they got stuck in Libya, and they end up in prisons, and they end up dying there, and they end up being bought as slaves to take to different parts of the
Those
country.
are very different circumstances, Mr. President.
Yeah, but I have not finished explaining my point.
Go ahead.
Yes, so we offered to do that. Different circumstances, there are similarities in a way. So we are the ones who offered and said, here in Rwanda, we can actually offer a better situation where people can come, and then those countries in Europe that would accept to take in some of them, they can do it in safety and for these people, and also comfortably with the ones who are going to take them. So that's how these people are brought here. And they were started, well, so far 1,000 refugees have been processed for asylum and have been taken to abroad for different purposes. The other aspect was, we said for those who will be here in safety and want to go back to their countries, we should still be able to work with UNHCR to process it and take them wherever they want to go. The others who have nowhere to go, we are happy to look for how to absorb them here and still provide a better environment than being in Libya or better than sinking in the Mediterranean. I'm saying this as a background. I didn't say it explains every problem. Now, for Europe, you will have to, or for UNHCR, if you will, in these discussions. Now, they have to be very clear, and this is an international issue that has to be discussed. Tell me, is it also agreed by everybody that there will be smugglers, people who smuggle others, find some entry point to take them to any country, whether it is France or UK or whichever, and just put them there, and these countries are obliged to accept them that way? I don't think so. I mean, at least from as far as I'm concerned. Even migration has to follow certain rules, certain norms, certain laws. So, and the ones we are dealing with in this context with the UK are those people actually whose migration circumstances are questionable by those who are supposed to receive them, so that they have time to sort them out. So, and I'm asking myself, what is wrong with that? They are not removing, by the way, they have also accepted a lot of people before. I don't think they are going to remove their migration status, which was agreed before, and send them here. No, that's not what is happening. It's those that are questionable. So, and we can either agree, say, no, everyone who enters any country and is seeking asylum must be accepted. That's not for me to say. It has to be an international norm or law that is going to dictate to us what is going to happen.
Right, but there's also criticism about the fact that the UK is giving you 144 million euros for that,
yeah.
And that essentially Rwanda is making money on human misery.
No, the money that they are supposed to be giving, well, UK has been giving us money even before we dealt with them.
But that's for a specific purpose.
Can't you let me explain? I'm saying they've been giving us money before, so not for doing for them anything. That's for development, that's one. This money that is being talked about is not money for the country to just enjoy and absorb and so on. No, it is money to look after these people who are being brought here. It's very clear, because in part of the agreement was, if you are going to bring 1,000, 10,000 people and put them here as you process them, who is going to foot the bill of looking after them? Their upkeep, their different things that they, and then they said they are the ones going to pay. So this is the money they are paying. It's not money for us to, we are not buying and selling people, no.
Prince Charles called this deal, I quote him, appalling. He was here very recently for the Commonwealth Summit. I imagine you had a discussion with him about this and his comments.
No, we didn't have that discussion because there was no need to have such a discussion. that discussion is supposed to be had in the UK, not here.
But when he calls this appalling, I mean...
That's okay. He's telling his own people or his own government, not Rwanda. Yes. This is why I said there are responsibilities divided. There is the responsibility of UK and the responsibility of Rwanda. So that does not fall in the responsibility of Rwanda.
Are you negotiating similar deals with other Western countries?
Not to my knowledge yet. But if others come up and suggest that, under the same reasons we accept this to go on, we might consider it. We have no problem with that. I've told you 100 cases before. It was Libya, it was Israel. The other day we received the people from Afghanistan. And whoever is telling you that we are just doing it because we want to, profit from these people is wrong.
There's another level of criticism. Some are saying that you're trying to buy the good graces of the Western world, so they stop criticizing you like they've done on human rights, on stifling the opposition.
No, but I have my own criticisms against them. I criticize those people, like we talked about the situation in the DRC. So the criticisms are going to be there anyway, for anyone. Only that some people think they are immune to criticism or it doesn't affect them. But why would I mean, again, like we said during I keep bringing back this example of Libya. In 2018, that's when we did it, when I was the chair of the African Union. And I was doing it mainly, actually, for the Africans who have been, because the main bulk of them were, if not all of them, were Africans. So you think I was buying the goodwill of Africans to not criticize me for what? I mean, it is easy to simply look for all kinds of reasons, but and then miss the actual substance of what one is talking about.
Right. You've always consistently refused this criticism on human rights, on a democracy that's not exactly a democracy, always saying this comes from the West or Western media or Western organization. Don't they have a point at all?
Wouldn't I have a point if I criticized the Western democracy?
Sure.
Yeah. So what is the problem? If democracy is not going to be perfect anywhere, at all, as we have seen, as we always see, we see that, What I don't like is just the hypocrisy. You are so deep in your own mess about democracy, and then you think you have authority to come and make criticisms about others and even want that to have a consequence on them. It's just hypocrisy. And am I supposed to accept that?
Well, as a last question, you were elected in 2000, so 22 years in power. The next election is scheduled in 2024. You haven't said whether you would run, but do you consider running or?
Well, I consider running for another 20 years.
Really?
I have no problem with that.
Really?
Yes. But
this means the president.
We're talking about elections.
Yes.
Again, this is the contradiction and the hypocrisy I'm talking about.
Well, there could be limit on the mandates, right?
Elections are about people choosing, isn't it?
Right. When they're free and fair, yes.
And that's yes, okay. But you haven't. At least of all the criticisms you have had, nobody has said the elections have not been free or fair. But we have had it in other places that people don't even talk about, including even people who complain about us. So don't you have, right now as we speak, we are having cases in the developed world about elections.
Right.
You remember not so long ago, there is a case going on somewhere in a very advanced democracy about
yes, in the United States, yes.
Somebody who wants to. So this is, I think people have to decide what they want to do for themselves. You see, you have problems of your own that somebody should be questioning, and then you want to, be the one to dictate what I should be doing. At the same time, even with the contradiction, because if you are talking about elections, and the election is about people choosing.
Yes, sir, but
And
there could be...
You are saying if it is free and fair, but that has not been the accusation. The accusation is different. Even the one you started, you are not talking about how free or not free the elections are. You are talking about just having to choose so many times. I think that this is different.
Right, but people could say, I'm not going to be president for life. There should be limits.
Which people are you talking about?
Well, you have debates in many African countries about 2 terms. I mean, we've had it, you're having it in Senegal, in Ivory Coast, and others, because they say a person after a while in power should leave and maybe...
That's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But people can also say a different thing. So which one are you supposed to accept? People can say that, yes, and I would accept it. But if they said the other one also, I would accept it. So what is the issue here? Anyway, why would anyone be so concerned about our own situation, which the people of Rwanda seem to be happy about, that is working for them, but somebody says, no, that should not happen in Rwanda. We haven't been questioning what is happening elsewhere. As I said, if you criticize me, I criticize you, because there are things somebody is doing that are not right, even against me, and then he comes around and starts blaming me for what I'm doing that is working for me. For me, I'm just even basing on simple logic.
Paul Kagame, I want to thank you very much for welcoming us here at the presidency of Rwanda in the capital, Kigali. Thank you very much for watching this exclusive interview here on France 24.